It's a time-honored tradition, passed down from generations. And even though we don't know what tomorrow holds, we can do our part today to ensure the future of elk, other wildlife, their habitat, and our hunting heritage. Join today and help us ensure the future.
Well, welcome to episode number 26, according to Flint. Moving back to the Rodeo bull riding arena, the bullfighting ring, and honored, happy to welcome a very good friend of mine. I think he's a good friend. I don't know if he'd say the same. He is the 10-time PRCA, Pro Rodeo Cowboys Association Bullfighter of the Year, National Finals Rodeo Bullfighter 12 times? 12 times to the NFR? 12 times the NFR. And just a pretty dang good all-around guy. Dusty Tuckness, could you please spell your name and give me your title?
Yeah. Dusty Tuck. I don't even know how to spell my own name actually, so I'll just leave it at Dusty.
So, background, we always do it when I record these. We talk before we go on the air, and we had the discussion of when you're doing an interview and a TV guy, they turn the camera on, he goes, okay, could you, for people who don't know, they always say, please spell your name and tell us your title. And it's like, you asked me for my interview. Shouldn't you know how to spell my name? So D-U-S. And you told a funny story. Ted Burt, I remember Ted Burt, NFR bull rider.
Yeah.
And funny thing happened to him.
Yeah, he is the Extreme Bulls finals before the NFR his first year he went, and you do the old say your name, your title, and spell it. And well, they put it on national television, and normally they cut that part out on TV. Well, they didn't, so there's Ted spelling his name to the world, and they're like, man, probably a good thing he made the finals in bull riding because he's on a spelling bee on national television.
Yeah, everybody's at home going, now what? Hey, was that T-E-D? Ted? Jerome Davis, who has been on this podcast. I meant to bring this story up. The autograph thing, when we sit in autograph, speaking of spelling names, now I'm off on a tangent. And we things are getting a little back to normal, but we went through a phase of, this is my son. His name's Jimmy. It's spelled G-H-I-M-M-E-A. I mean, people were in this. You got to ask how to spell names, right? You can't assume.
The worst part about the autograph deal is when you know somebody, but you don't remember their name, and you try to do the old, just sign it. And they're like, well, address it to me. And you're like,
make it.
What's your name? It's Kate, Dusty. See your Kate, you know?
A guy walks up. Oh man, Flint, good to see you after all these years. You're going, hey, buddy.
Buddy works, man.
Oh, who do I make this to? Just make it to me. Son of a
Bob, B-O-B.
Oh, yeah. So Jerome Davis is telling the story. He's signing autographs when he was riding bulls, and he said, I can't spell at all. And there is a line of people, and this little kid comes up and he says, what's your name, Sonny? He goes, my name's Ted. And Jerome says, just out of habit, how do you spell that? And the little kid, as loud as he could say, everybody knows how to spell Ted. And Jerome looks up and the whole line of people are going,
that's
most embarrassing ever. Anyway, by the way, we do usually request that people make their bed in their hotel room.
Yeah, I just drove from Cheyenne. We got here, went to the gym this morning, and I just wrapped up laundry. So that's why it's all kind of messed up. But hey, living life on the road.
To here, tell us where you are.
In Dodge City, Kansas. Starting Extreme Bulls tonight. So we had a day of travel and back at it again today.
So as we are doing, this comes out this week, but as we're doing this, it's a couple days before it comes out. You're doing the Extreme Bulls in Dodge City, then on your way to
Phillipsburg, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, then straight into Loveland, Colorado, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and then get about 3 days off. Then I fly out to the East Coast for Velocity PBR. So go meet up with the crew. Yeah.
Nice. That's a good, I've enjoyed the fact that you're doing rodeos and you're doing some Velocity tour stuff. You were with us in the the Elite Tour in Vegas in June. I think it's a fun combo. I like seeing you at both because I think the best should go either way. I've said it about bull riders. If you're a good bull rider, you're a good bull rider, whatever. But it's gotta be, things are presented a little different. The atmosphere is a little different. That's gotta be fun for you and mix things up a little bit.
Man, I love it, because you know me from when I was rodeoing with Dad, so I've grown up around rodeo my whole life in the Western industry, and I love to fight bulls. And there you get the question, do you do PBRs or do you just do PRCA? I'm a bullfighter, and I love what I do, and I try to do it at an elite level. And being able to get to go to some velocities and got to fill in there at Vegas with you guys, and get to go to some great rodeos, like just living the dream, man. It's so awesome.
And this time of year, I got to thinking about it. Actually, when I talked to you about, I'm going, I caught you in Cheyenne, said, hey, do you want to do this next week? Yeah, I'll be in Dodge City by then, and I'll have a hotel. I should have good service. You have the whole conversation. I have talked to my girls a little bit, my daughters, about this, where I don't know if people understand this time of year in the rodeo world, the travel, you don't really think about when am I going home? You just go to the next one.
Yeah.
I'm trying to describe that frame of mind. It's very different. You're 10 days in Cheyenne, then you go here and there. You just take a breath and you just go where you're supposed to go.
Oh, absolutely. And after the end of every rodeo, the committee or fans, they're always like, man, you ready for this to be over? I'm like, not really. I'm ready to see a different town or something, but I'm not going to get home until the end of September. Like you said, we just go to the next one and the next one. And, it's just a lifestyle that you kind of, you learn to adjust to, and really being on the road's home.
Yeah. I've gotten in my career where I sleep better in hotels.
Yes.
But I wake up, I don't know where the hell I am,
Yeah.
who I am, as I've gotten older.
Yeah.
So, but you get rodeo committees because that's their one of the year. And I'm not taking away anything because they, in those, a place like Cheyenne for 2 weeks, I mean, all the time leading in, then that 10 days, they work their butts off. Yeah. But it's, like you say, we're done. Got her done for another year. Well, I'm done for 2 days.
Yeah.
Then we go. So it is different this time of year. And I always said it when I was doing rodeos, I did work Denver, which was 27 performances in 2.5 weeks. Big winter rodeos that you do. San Antonio?
I do Odessa, Fort Worth, Tucson, and Houston.
There you go. So I'm gonna throw in Fort Worth and Houston. I always said this about Denver. I think in the summer when you have a 4-day rodeo or even a Cheyenne or Reno, every night you get up and let's go. On those ones where there's 2 performances a day for 2 weeks or 3 performances a day, it's a different mentality. I almost felt like I punched into work, still got to do a great job. But if you get that up for every performance, it's exhausting.
Oh, absolutely. And it's funny you say that because I remember when Nathan Hart first come in, and of course he was young and he was excited, just like I was when I first went to Fort Worth. And he would always kind of pester me in a sense each day, like, dude, is something wrong? Something wrong? What's wrong? I'm like, nothing's wrong. I said, I've been here long enough where I've learned to kind of keep an even tone, like autopilot. I'm going to use my energy when I need it. And you're right. Denver, San Antonio, Houston, those rodeos that you're working at least 1, if not 3 purse a day, you're there and you're doing your job and you're focused and you're ready and you got all your ducks in a row, but you're not just amped out redlining the whole time because you kind of find that throttle and you use it when you need it.
Yeah. Because about day 5.
Well, and then, what I do, you take a bad hit in the barrel or you get hooked first, second, third perf, you got a long ways to go. But I remember Zig Ziglar, the old Justin Sports Medicine guy, told me the first year I was in Fort Worth, I got wrecked out pretty good, like 3 days in a row. I got flipped, landed on my head, and then they stepped on my head, and then they put stitches in my chin. And he's working on me and everything, getting ready for like per 5, and we got 29 to go. He said, well, Tuck, the good thing about this rodeo, you'll actually start feeling better by the end of it. I said,
you're going to work yourself healthy.
Yeah, pretty much.
You're going to ride yourself healthy like JB Mooney does.
Yeah.
Just ride yourself healthy. I worked Denver with John Brogan and Eddie Hatfield.
Oh, yeah.
Look at us. Legends.
Yeah.
His legends. And there used to be a real bad corner in Denver. They've kind of changed those chutes, and a guy was hung up in that corner. And so 2 bullfighters and me, and I came in to at least, throw my hat.
Yeah.
Well, at the same time, the pickup man rode in and hit me with the chest of his horse here and hurt my ribs and my shoulder. And I had like 12 performances to go in Denver. And I don't handle pain that well. and we fought a bull, they turned a bull that we played with, but you don't see that as often anymore, but almost every performance. Yeah. And I remember John Brogan saying, walk that barrel in. I said, I can't lift the barrel. My ribs and shoulder hurt. And he turned around. We all hurt. Pack in the damn barrel. Okay. That was an example. It's like, we all hurt here. Too bad. I learned fast. I got reprimanded. You mentioned something earlier, right when we started growing up around this. Your dad was a bullfighter, still a rodeo clown. It's hard to explain to people. The biggest question, I know you get asked at any interview, we do a lot of Q&As. How did you ever get into this?
Yeah.
It's hard to explain to people that complete assimilation into the life. So you never really have that moment where you go, that's what I want to do. Ooh, I want to pursue that. It's not that unusual for us.
No, it isn't. Everybody's got a little different story how they got into it. But, like I said earlier, for me, I guess I really didn't know any different. I grew up into it, going with dad in the summer, and my mom was involved in rodeos, and my middle brother, he participated a little bit for a while, but there really wasn't never that day that I was like, hey, I guess I'll try that out. It was just something that I was around, I was young. I'd put the makeup on, the little baggies, I'd fight the sheep, do the parades. That was kind of my deal with dad, was sheep riding, steer riding, and the parades. Those were my time to shine. And it just, at that young of an age, and even creeping into high school, at that point in my life, I knew it's something I wanted to pursue, but I didn't know if it was really going to turn into like a lifelong career or something that I was doing full time. I remember watching you and Bumgardner and Flint or Frank and all you guys, and seeing you at the finals, or seeing on the rodeo tapes. It was almost like another world to me. Like, man, that's cool. That's in a different universe. Those guys are special to get to do that. I just never really grasped the concept as a kid of I could do that. And, once I started getting closer to graduating, and then in college, it started kind of coming to light a little bit, like, holy cow, I just got my PRCA card. Like, that was a huge accomplishment in my life. And I just stepped them goals pretty much my whole career of, obviously, yeah, you want to go to the NFR or the PBR finals or win this or win that. But I tried to step them my whole career. That way I didn't get so focused on an end point to where I could consistently see in myself making some progression.
I think that's I was a little of the same. I guess it could be called patience now, but I just didn't have, I was doing, NRA rodeos in Montana. And even when I joined the PRCA in 1994, I was just doing it in the moment. I was married. My wife and I went to the NFR, and she said, you can be out in that barrel someday. I said, I'll never. That's a whole different group of people when you're talking about, you feel like you're watching from a distance and you're on the other side. And I think it was within 2 years I had the NFR. It just blew my mind. But my first year in the PRCA was 1994, and the first rodeo to hire me wasn't the first rodeo I worked. It was my third one. First rodeo that said, if you join the PRCA, we'll hire you, was Red Lodge, Montana.
Oh, yeah.
Well, they still weren't real certain of my abilities, so they hired 2 of us.
I know who that other guy was.
They hired 2 of us. That happened at like 3 rodeos that year. Glasgow, Montana, they hired Steve Tomac, the senator. from North Dakota. Just to be sure, Red Lodge, it was Timber Tuckness.
Yeah.
And it was, I'll tell you, it was pretty fun because he had a car act and I had to dress like a woman.
Oh,
But
Gaddafi.
what was her name?
Mumu Gaddafi.
Mumu Gaddafi. I was Mumu Gaddafi.
Yeah.
Looking back though, and I had done some NRA rodeos with him, and it just kind of showed me, I got to give your dad credit. He always has substance to his acts. He's got the YMCA thing now. There was always props, always substance, always a visual stimulation to his acts, which I think is missing a little in rodeo right now. But needless to say, later in my career, they just hired me. I was good, but that was interesting. I'll never forget Mumu Gaddafi. I had the wig on and the lady hat. I had a cone head deal, bald cone head thing with big ears. So when the car blew up, I threw the wig off and I had a cone head. He was so mad at me. Hey, you can't be doing your own thing out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did. I stole the thunder, but he had a lot of firecrackers and explosives and stuff.
Yeah, a lot of Roman candles. One of us would always get on fire once in a while.
Matitsi, you're from Matitsi, Wyoming. Check me if I'm wrong. You're a pretty good football player. 6-man football. Am I right? See, I paid attention. I used to see your name because I really watch. I don't as much anymore. I always watched high school football stats and results in the newspapers, and I see Dusty Tuckness. So I knew who you were because you were playing in Montana, but you played for Matitsi.
Yeah. We for them, my junior senior year, we played in the Montana circuit, or I guess you call it circuit.
We'll go with circuit. Yeah,
like going rodeo style on it in their conference, and it's a whole different ball game. The change of pace, the rules, the yardage of the field, but it's a lot of fun.
I've seen one 6-man football game, state semifinals in Montana. And I've never seen such great open field tacklers in my life. They beat the crap out of each other, man.
Yeah. I think one of my best games, total yardage from kick return, passing, rushing, and all that stuff. I had 505 yards in one game.
Wow. Just chipped away at him. Oh, 3 yards in a cloud of dust. It's a great game to watch. It's okay. So here's the big question, because this is my thing. Matitsi, still a high school in Matitsi? Are they good? They're still good there?
Yeah.
Plus, I love saying that name, Matitsi. Show me Matitsi's.
Yeah.
Sorry. Matitsi, home of the
Chiefs.
Matitsi Chiefs.
No, that's where, so the sign says Matitsi and it means where the Chiefs meet, but it's the Longhorns.
Oh, okay. It's the Matitsi Longhorn. So here's the deal. You need to somehow use your connections back in Wyoming. I need a Matitsi Longhorns shirt. Can you do that?
I can make it happen.
Because that's my thing on my Facebook Live Tuesday night things. I try to wear a different deal all the time. You can make it happen. Do you have connections there still?
Yeah. I know some of the student bodies still, and then one of my good friends, she's actually one of the physical education teacher there now, so I got a name.
What are the colors? What's the colors?
Red and white, or pretty much red and white. Okay.
I have it on record. Matitsi Longhorns coming my way. You know what my favorite one so far is?
What?
The Lingle, Fort Laramie, Wyoming. It's my favorite one. You know what it is? The Doggers, the Bulldoggers. It's a steer wrestler. The logo's a bulldogger.
That's cool.
See what I can do for you. I got connections. So there you go. Do you ever, reminds me, when I'm talking to other people, I think of other conversations I had. Justin McBride. I remember him saying, we did a lot of crummy stuff. We partied in a lobby at a hotel. We played our guitars till 5 a.m. We'd go out and party too hard. We'd do stupid stuff. But everything we ever did, we were thinking about bull riding all the time.
Yeah.
I've been around you. You always are thinking about bullfighting.
Oh yeah.
Always.
Yeah, absolutely. And I can bounce off what Justin was saying. I believe it or not, in college and high school, I lived a little bit of the wilder life and partying and all that stuff. But man, I can't think of a day in the last 20 something years or more where I wasn't thinking fighting bulls or how to get better or watching film or whatever. It's just been instilled in me.
Speaking of that, I know for a fact from being around you, you are a true, I know man of faith is kind of a common term. I look at you different, I guess. You don't hide your faith, but you also don't hide behind it, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
You live the life that you tote to others. You don't preach it on people. You don't push it on people. You don't hide behind it, but you don't hide it. That is very important to you. Is there something that really turned you to that strength you get from that? Either just a past, anything, because it's really important to you and strong in your life.
Oh yeah, man. Honestly, yeah. Like growing up as a kid, I would go to church or whatever, but I never enjoyed it, never wanted to, whatever. And long story short, it was actually through rodeo is where I went to a rodeo Bible camp when I was young, and it was kind of the turning point for me in a career to fight bulls. And ultimately, I think God's plan for my life is when I was 15, like I started fighting bulls when I was 12, and way younger than a lot of people. I was sneaking away to some practice pins with a old guy you might know, Scotty Brown from up there in Powell. He used to fight
Okay.
bulls.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And anyways, I ended up getting a chance to step in an arena one year in New Salem, North Dakota when I was 15. And I can honestly say up until that point of that night, I didn't know what fear was. I never have any nerves. Growing up with two older brothers and always just getting beat on, like never struck me. And I got in a pretty good wreck that night, picking a bull off Josh Ravinius, and he knocked me out, busted my chin, broke some ribs, and it really opened my eyes what this sport has or what's a part of it. And I remember a couple weeks later in the stands, and that same bull come bucking out of the chute in Baker, Montana, and like for the first time in my life, I can really remember fear struck me, and it shook me so bad that in the stands, like I was getting the shaky knees and everything. And I tried going to a couple events after that Dad helped me get, and I can remember 2 weeks out I was nervous. The week of, I was getting more nervous, and the morning of I was drinking energy drinks and listening to rock and roll. Like I was like, man, maybe this is the life. This is what it's like. And I remember the first bull that bucked out. He wasn't even mean. He just jumped out there a couple, turned back, and I can remember making eye contact with him, and like it stopped me in my tracks. And I wish I could find this picture because I'd laugh at it now. Well, I do, but it was a picture. So if you're looking at the arena in Cody, the picture was taken towards the bucking chutes, and this bull is literally like jumping and kicking across the arena like 40 yards from the bucking chute. And guess where I'm at? I'm on the very top rail of the bucking chute. Like it scared me so bad. But long story short, I ended up, there was just something still about rodeo I wanted to be a part of. And they were doing a rodeo Bible camp in Meeteetse, Wyoming. There it is again, Meeteetse. And I went to go there really with the intentions of just growing and fighting bulls and learning and trying to get over this hiccup and this adversity in my life. And lo and behold, those 3 days there just really transformed my life. I received Jesus into my life, and that's where my mental game really started changing. Our mind is the most powerful thing, but it can be our worst enemy. And it was that week when I started trusting what I was made to do, started having more positive thoughts, and really started to control what I was thinking and how I was going about it. And it was at that young age that going to that camp, originally just wanting to go to fight bulls, but ultimately, changing the trajectory of my life. And since then, it's just been a, growing experience for the last 20 years or whatever. And each day I learn something. But ultimately, I think for me is just it sharpens my mind. And I wish I could show you some old film from in high school and when I was first in college. Like I thought I was really fighting bulls good, but ultimately, man, I was just kind of in the arena. But it was through that adversity that I went through and the changing of my life is when I really just started changing my mind and my thought process and my work ethic. And it's been a blessing.
Proof that so much of this job, yes, we got to take care of ourselves physically.
Yeah.
It's like overcoming an injury for a bull rider as well. I've asked a lot of them, what's harder to overcome, coming back from an injury physically or coming back from it emotionally and mentally? They all say mentally and emotionally. So we got to take care of ourselves physically, but the physical part of it means nothing without the emotional side of it to uphold that physical side of it. I like that you say, man, I really felt like I was something till I look at the old videos now and we realize how far we come. And there's so many things presented to us in this profession, whether it's in the arena or out of the arena, in the arena professionally, outside of the arena personally. You need something to lean on. You need that rock that you reach out and say, that's there for me. Am I on the right track there?
Oh, absolutely. And I think bull riding, fighting bulls, clowning, anything, once you get in a rut, whether it's a positive rut or a negative rut, the more you get in that track, the harder it is to going to be get out of it. So if you're in that negative rut or that bad thinking process, it's going to be harder to get out of it if you're consistently doing it. So on the positive and the mind gym and the inspirational side of things, I think the more, those guys, that's where you look at some of those guys on the PBR tour and the elite guys in PRCA and that are consistently winning inside of injury and out is because they've got a sharp mental game going. And ultimately that's what it takes. You can be so fit, but your fitness doesn't play a role at all if you can't control your thought process.
Goes back a little what we were talking about earlier when you're at these rodeos that are long and a grind. You can't get up here and you can't get down there. You got to be here. I think there was a generation or two of bullfighters, no secret, that they were either down here or up here, and they did some things to get them up here and did some things to take them back down. I mean, there's a history of that because of the mental grind, because of the physical pain, because of the emotional pain. I feel like we're in a different generation of bull riders. The locker room's a little different atmosphere. You guys are mixing supplements in with your water nowadays. It hasn't always been like that.
Then too, just different.
They mixed stuff with their water too. Yeah. It is a different world. Even when I started, it's way different now. I came into this career and the guys I worked with were Joe Bumgardner and Lloyd Ketchum. And, hardest thing Lloyd Ketchum did was a steak and a baked potato. Before every perf. Joe Bumgardner would drink a Coors after the rodeo, but I came in on that. So I didn't get that, but in that faith you have, Cody Custer on this podcast, he said something interesting to me. I think you can relate. That's why I wrote it down. He said, my faith never changes, but my beliefs change. My beliefs have changed, but my faith always is there. Mm-hmm. And he related that with, he used to be the guy that came and everything was about his faith and Jesus. And he changed because he said, I never wanted to be the guy that when I walked up, people hid their beer. Yeah. And he has changed. His belief in how he can represent his faith has changed, but the faith is always there. Makes sense to you?
100%. I think on the physical side too, where you see people so dominant as well, is your situation may change, but your work ethic doesn't, from town to town or injury to injury or whatever. And that's the guys that I really look up to and respect a lot is, anybody can do something good or all that stuff when they're feeling good and all the ducks are in the row, but it's those guys that are them underdogs or them guys that are going through things and that can continue to work hard and keep grinding. So, your outlook on it is just your whole perspective.
Yeah. It's an interesting topic to me. It's people can say if they want until you're standing out there with broken ribs or perf number 20 and your feet hurt. You always got to have there's always got to be something out there, you know?
Yeah.
And I think we've all had little things happen in our life that you go, wait, that wasn't random.
Yeah.
I'm not a big, I could be better.
Mm-hmm.
I'll say that. And being around you makes me think about it and feel better. So that's a compliment to you. So, and I always appreciate that. There's different situations you're put in going back into the arena, because I know people like to hear about it. We go to a PBR and it's a 3-man system. Hell, the world finals, there's 4 bullfighters. It's a 3-man bullfighting system. People that are working for the PBR that don't have a background in rodeo, we'll have one guy get hurt and leave the arena, or he can't go on Sunday. And the people that are working PBR, oh my God, are we going to have to bring somebody else in? Like, whoa. I remember when there was me and one bullfighter. And I love to go spend a couple days at Cheyenne and watch you and Cody Webster, Sosby in the barrel, the 2-man bullfighting system at a place like Cheyenne. You guys call it the blender, right? Am I right?
Yeah.
Where'd that come from? Where the blender thing?
And I couldn't even tell you the time of date when that come up. It kind of started with the old compound crew, I guess. There's just a group of us guys, Harp and Justice and Wes and Chuck and all of us, we just kind of guys with the same mission and the same vision. And it was just, I don't know, kind of a word that come to mind. And if you think about it, when you're head and tailing that bull, it looks like a blender, and, you can spin that bull up pretty good and, keep him occupied and let that guy get away. And a lot of times, and for one of the committee guys, Frank Thompson, there's a lot of places you go in big arenas. A lot of people think, oh man, you guys are just showboating and fighting them. And my response to that a lot of times is, if you want me to fight them, get the med sled ready, because me and Webb are going to wear this dude down to the ground. I said, a lot of times what we're doing, we're controlling that animal in a situation to where 1 or 2 rotations, that bull's head comes up, he sees the out gate and leaves. And Frank Thompson come up to us this last week, and it was pretty humbling to have him say it for one, but he's like, man, you guys are saving us a lot of headache of roping bulls and that, because you guys are keeping this bull occupied right here. That bull leaves out. He said, over 10 days of rodeo, that saves a lot of time, and he appreciated it. And I'm like, man, I appreciate that, Frank, because a lot of people just think we're out there, we're having fun, but, trying to showboat, and we're not. We're just trying to help the production and take care of the animal and the bull rider as well.
Here's what I say to people saying, you guys are out there showboating. I think this is lost in rodeo quite a bit, getting better, but it's lost. What if you are? Are we not in the entertainment business? Are you not entertained?
Very true.
Listen, the rodeo is made, yes, the contestants in the competition, without fans in the stands enjoying what they are seeing. Hey, when I'm watching the bull riding at Cheyenne Frontier Days and you guys are head tail one, you got him in the blender, and you go and you're whooping and hollering and you're smiling and high-fiving, that's selling tickets.
Yeah.
So I know contractors don't always like you to do it with every bull.
Yeah.
You're in the entertainment business as much as I am.
Yeah. Well, you over the years of fighting bulls and that, you learn your contractors, and you learn some of the bulls and that. So when to do a little bit more and when not to. And those contractors, a lot of them recognize that, but you're right. There's a lot of people that have come up to you and be like, man, that was cool. That was entertaining. And we are in the entertainment business. And when you're, it doesn't really matter where you can put me and Webster. You can put us in a backyard buck out and with no fans and no music or whatever, and we're still just going to have the time of our life. But you start putting in the fans and those atmospheres like Cheyenne and different places, like, man, we just don't get enough bulls. Like, we're just craving it. We're having fun, and everybody feeds off that. And you step in the pen with a guy like Webster, man, shoot, you either better step up your game or get left in the dust. And we just have a ball when we're out there.
What do you like better? You like fighting bulls with 2 guys or 3 guys, or does it matter? You have to adapt to one or the other in the moment.
Oh, for sure. Ultimately, I've always said, if you got the 2 guys that know the fundamentals and are aggressive, you can do just as good as a 3-man. But if you got 2 other guys in the arena that can work a 3-man, oh man, I can't even put words to it, man. You get just clicking and rolling and going, and it's just so much fun. And the good thing about the 3-man deal, if you got guys that can work it, is it just saving some steps for everybody. You know, everybody's covering their side. It's the triangle effect. Everybody's floating, reading, and reacting. So if you got guys that know how the 3-man, I'll do 3-man all day. But if, you know, in a sense like Cheyenne, if they just said, no, it's just you and Webster, well,
Yeah.
I know we're going to be able to take care of it. And if I get hooked and down, the bull's going to get me once. He's not going to get me again, you know, and vice versa.
Well, and the difference is too, that Cheyenne, now I'm going to pull the old guy thing on you. When I was at Cheyenne, we had 3 sections of 12, like we'd buck 36 to 45 bulls a day.
Yeah.
Now it's 2 seconds. What do you guys buck? 20 a day?
Yeah. 2 sections of 10. Yeah. Well, hey, but back it up. So my first time at Cheyenne was 3 sections. So I got a little taste of it. So, but it's changed a lot. Yeah, for sure.
But point being, at a PBR or an Extreme Bulls, you might go and buck, fight 40 to 50 bulls in one night. So and PBR same way. To save those steps is critical if you're 2 or 3 days. That does help. And comes back to, if one of you goes down, we still got 2 of you, because you wouldn't want your next option to be like me. You don't want that. You do not want that.
Yeah, I mean, obviously that's evolved from the PBR and so to some rodeos. And I think Joe Bumgardner's kind of been the guy who kind of evolved that deal. And I think that's awesome, because you're right. The bull riding's, you know, 50, 60 head, you know, PBR finals, 7 days or whatever it is. I mean, you guys are going through so many bulls. So having that extra guy, you know, for one, if one does go down, you got 2, but then it even trickled down into the velocities. So I think the last 2.5 years that they started going to 3, for a lot of years, it was just 2, which was fine. But there was time, I know Webb one year, you know, ended up kind of working 2 full bull ridings by himself, because of the other guy.
I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah. And so they started implementing the 3-man in the velocities, and one, it gives, you know, more guys some opportunities to have some jobs, but for 2, ultimately, man, you can save some steps, and you do go through a lot of bulls at them PBR events every weekend. So it's good to have 3 guys, but it's even better when you got the right 3 guys. There's not a better day in the world.
Speaking of Joe Bumgardner, we go through this, you know, bull riders. And if I have bull riders on the show, I ask them, who's the best bull rider you ever saw in person? And I might ask you that, but hold on. Okay. Who's the best bull rider you ever saw? As a kid, who do you think is the best bull rider? You're around bull riders every day. Because listen, in the last few days, what I've gone through is people saying, you're telling me all these years and you just saw the best bull ride you ever saw on a Saturday night in Tulsa? I sure did. And so there's always that, what's the best bull ride you ever saw? It used to be JB Mooney on Pearl Harbor in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. Now it's Jose Vitorleme in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Best bull rider that you think you've ever seen? Maybe not in person as a kid. What do you think?
Man, that's a tough question, because you're always going to be able to have debates on that. And if I were to just say one right now, I mean, Jose is just something special to watch. His work ethic to everything, like, that guy's just in such control. You know, watching at Cheyenne, he rode everything. And then the very next weekend, you know, rides whoop off for 97 3/4. And I wasn't there in person, but watching on video, I'm just like, that guy's in kind of a league of his own. But I mean, you go down to JB, you go down to Jess Lockwood, you know, on the PBR side of things. And the guys that I really got to know, you know, in my career on the PRCA side of things, that I thought were amazing was, you know, you can't have Sage Kimsey not in that conversation. That guy's so dominant. He's consistent. He rides really, really correct. But two of my favorites when I was really rodeo, or I'm still rodeoing, but when they were rodeoing, was one of my best friends, Cannon Acey and JW Harris. I've seen 2 rides that come to mind at the NFR, actually 3, but One was Cannon on Big Iron, the 10th round, and 2009 was 93 points on J.W. Harris when he rode Smokescreen for 94.5, and then Brendan Eldred when he rode Bruiser for 94.5. Like, it's like you and I talked the other day, is like, I know how awesome that ride Jose had on Whoopah the other day, watching on video, but it's something different and special when you're on the ground floor, and you were on ground floor to that, just as I was on Cannons and J-Dubs and Brennan, and there's just a whole different way you look at it.
Yeah, people try to judge watching on TV, and you know, this whole debate lately with Jose, and it's almost, to me, gotten to a point when I watch that ride, it's not even opinion. It's just right in front of you. Like when other world champions who've been 95 points say, oh, that's the greatest ride ever.
Yeah.
That's saying something. Like if you're an armchair quarterback that just watches bull riding at home and you're telling us we're wrong, that's not being upset because somebody has a different opinion. That's just being an idiot.
Yeah.
Sorry.
You're
So,
right.
yeah. Okay. On that same kind of track, I'm going to exclude you from the conversation. In my life, because he helped me a lot, and every NFR, I did the NFR 8 times, and every single one of them was with one guy. 2 of us worked together every time. Joe Bumgardner.
Yep.
I've always said Joe Bumgardner was the greatest cowboy protection, straight up cowboy protection bullfighter I ever saw. Because he didn't get mucked out much, because he had a way of sliding in and sliding out. Hated freestyle bullfighting. I remember doing a rodeo in Pleasant Grove, Utah with him, and they had a Mexican fighting bull in the chute to fight after the rodeo. Joe threw up. He puked before the bull riding because he was so scared. Joe brought, we got to admit, he brought something different and sane and calm and smooth to the cowboy protection field. Am I right?
100%. You know, Joe B was, I mean, I still look up to the guy, even though he's been retired, but you're right. You know, there was you know, an era before him, you know, kind of the gritty, hard-nosed, tough guys, your Smitzes and those guys of that. But when Joe started kind of coming into the scene, like the style started changing, the smoothness, just like poetry in motion, basically. And there's an old video I got, I think it's called like Extreme Rides and Wrecks. And a lot of the 2 guys that are on there, they show through all those wrecks, and that is Joe Bumgardner and Frank Newsom. And those guys, I mean, worked the finals multiple times. Joe's got the record at the NFR. You know, he's worked it 14 times, 13 consecutively. Like he raised the bar to a point to where, you know, it may never be achieved, but he's a guy that you can go back and look at those film and see just a lot of correct fundamentals. And you're right. Like he just slide in there nice and easy on a hang up or a gap and slide right out. And he was just awesome to watch. And, you know, I can remember the first time I ever seen Joe, and he'd never recall this, but I got to go down to the finals, I think maybe in 2000 or 01 or something. It was a year him and Smets worked it. So 2000 or 2001 or something. And you.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, and you. And I remember the hangout place and where everything was then was the Gold Coast.
Gold Coast, yeah.
And me and Dad sat down for breakfast, and I looked over a few tables from me, and there sat Joe Bumgardner, and I'm like, no way! Like, where's his security? Like,
you know how you knew it was him? Because you could hear him saying the F word in his conversation from the table. Anyway,
that's no kidding. But I was like, man, there's no way he can. Why is he sitting there with no, you know, bodyguards? That's the mentality or the mind thought process I had of where I held him, just because he was such an elite guy. And every NFR I watched to that point, or every video, he was always in it. And he was just a guy that I looked up to and still look up to. And you see a lot of his style and a lot of guys today.
Yeah. Yeah. He was, you know, that at the NFR at the bottom of that tunnel in Thomas and Mack, there didn't used to be a garbage can there. He puked before every performance. 140 performances, he claims. He threw up, and Gizmo McCracken, he might still stand down there.
Yep.
The rodeo clown, he's like security at the bottom of that tunnel. Got that garbage can for Joe so he could throw up. So a guy like that, he may need bodyguards, but he pukes before every performance. And he was loud. It was like,
All dinosaurs.
Oh gosh, yeah. A lot of people ask all the time, my kid wants to be a bullfighter. What should I do? And I would say, they got to learn. Like, don't throw them in here. Frank Newsom always says, get a job at a sale barn to learn the habits of handling large animals.
Yeah.
Do you love teaching it as much as you love doing it?
Yeah, I do. And, I've been able to put a few schools on over, usually one or two a year, but that was the one cool thing about last year. Things were slowed down, but the night rodeo in Cody still was up and going. So I went up there, worked the 4th of July rodeo, and then for the remainder of the month, and I'll probably never do this again, I did 5 schools in a row. And by the end of that 5th school, I was exhausted, but I had such blast last July of being able to bring new kids in and showing them the fundamentals. And ultimately, yes, the way the sport's evolved, whether you're riding bulls, being a rodeo clown or rodeo entertainer or fighting bulls or whatever, the key to success now is to get to a good school of somebody that's going to bring you up right and teach you the right fundamentals, but also get you around the right cattle for your level. So is at the end of the day, your mind's going to tell you if this is something you want to do. And there's been kids that come to a school and the first day or by the second day, they're like, man, I'm glad I tried it, but this isn't for me. And that's fine. That's a smaller investment than actually having to go to the hospital and pay for something. So ultimately, yeah, get to a good school, learn the ins and outs of it. And then it's not in 3 days, you're going to be a professional. It's going to take consistency. Yeah. I know people are like, hey, I went to Cody's school, I'm ready to go. I'm like, well, wait a minute. That's 3 days, Webster's invested. He's been fighting bulls. He started fighting when I was, 12, 11 years old. Like, we've got 8-10 years in before we're even eligible to get a card. So like, there's a lot of time and effort you got to put into it, but that's the starting point.
What else do you teach them besides in the arena? Ty Murray has told me several times. His parents shipped him off to hang out with Larry Mahan all summer when he was like 13 years old. Yeah. And he said, everything I learned about rodeo, I learned so much from Larry Mahan about rodeo, and not one thing had to do with riding.
Yeah.
Do you take time at your schools to teach them other things? How to conduct yourself, how to do contracts, how to take care of business? There's got to be so many things. I always said if I did a school, that would be my emphasis.
Oh, yeah. That's how I kind of run the schools at Cody, because it's really hard to do a lot of cattle work in the daytime because they're using that arena for, running stock in and out. And so I take a smaller number of students, and that way they work the night, that performance that night. But that way they can still get, a handful of bulls for sure every night. But I go through the fitness side of things. I teach them some different, I do a lot of the training at the rodeo arena because give them an idea of how to utilize stuff at every arena. You got a body, so there's your tool, and different things you can utilize at each arena. I talk business. I talk the mental side of things, like we talked about earlier. If you can't have a sharp mind, it doesn't matter how in good shape you are. I talk, professionalism, and that goes inside and outside of the arena. And as well as I do, you could be the very best at your job in that arena, but if you can't get along with other people, if your people skills aren't good, you're not going to work that much. And so I try to give them a taste of a little bit of everything and what it takes, and then also open it up to if they're dealing with something in their life or whatever, I'll give you my 2 cents, and whether it's right or wrong, let them know that the community of rodeo and bull riding is, we're in this together. And I think the good people like yourself and, a lot of other guys that, you're not in a sense worried of somebody taking your job. In a sense, I feel that it's like you come to the finals every year, you still do your show and your work and doing the buckle ceremonies and stuff, but you're a fan of the sport. You want to see people be successful. And that's the same way with me. Like I hope one day I'm sitting in the stands at the NFR and looking down and I'm like, man, those kids are at my school. That's awesome. I'm so happy for them. So,
well, if you're, and I mean this sincerely, because I've had a lot of people ask me, would you ever do a school? I go back and forth because I don't know if I could teach somebody to be funny. I always said I'd like to talk business and treating people more than anything. So if you're ever doing a school close and I'm off, I'd love to come.
Oh, absolutely.
And chip in anywhere and, you know, show my bullfighting skills.
Oh, yeah.
Actually, what I can contribute is that first step up the fence. I got a quick first step. So I'm there for
fence climbing team.
Yeah. But and hat throwing. I'm a good hat thrower.
You're
But I
good.
would. Oh yeah. But sincerely, I would. I'd love to come. I know you and Webb do schools and I would love to do that. So I'm offering my services. I mean, not, I don't work for free. Yes, I would work for free. Been watching the Olympics?
Man, I've tuned into a little bit of it, but actually what I was watching over this last weekend as much as I could during Cheyenne was the CrossFit games. And the CrossFit and the fitness type of thing. But sorry.
You would. I'm a track guy. I watch the Olympics for track, and it's the one thing. For one, I've hated all sports in the last year and a half that don't have fans in the stand. Yeah. I can't. Sports is the entertainment business. Without crowds, we're on the it doesn't make sense. However, I can watch track all the time. Yeah. Were you a track guy ever? You were fast. You're fast.
Well, see, that's where like I've changed over the years is I only went out for track my junior year and I hated running. I didn't want to run. And my coach at the time, he's like, man, you're a jumper. So I won our region in the high jump and I made it in long and triple as well. And that was my deal. I did not want to run. Well, my senior year, I was going to go back out for track. Well, our assistant coach decided to make it more of a team sport and was going to make me run. So I didn't go out.
Well, run what though? Come on, man. Oh,
I hated running that much. I'm like, no, I'm a jumper. If you want me, I'm a jumper. And he said, we're going to do some relays. And I was like, peace.
The short I ran the short relay and then I was a jumper. Come on, man.
Yeah, well,
I'm disappointed. I'm disappointed, Tuck. All right. Before I let you go, fun. Who's the most famous person in your cell phone? You've been around. We have mutual friends. You have access. Most famous person in your cell phone.
Oh, most famous person outside of you, Flint, is.
But yeah, you got to exclude me.
Yeah.
You got to exclude
me. I'd like to say I'd have Garth Brooks' number, but I don't. I've only talked to him on the phone, on Maury's phone.
Well, so Maury Tate, is he Cody Knight Rodeo still?
Yeah.
So the Mo Betta, Garth, wasn't he the shirt company that Garth wore with no collars back in the day?
I wore one, original Garth Brooks, the black and white, no collared, Friday night at his concert. People know Garth Brooks.
Yeah, in Cheyenne this year.
Yeah.
Did he see you?
No, he didn't. He kind of flew in and flew right out, so I didn't get to go and see him again or nothing. But yeah, that's Maury's got a great friendship connection there, and that's where I talked to him on the phone.
Well, so what was the conversation? Now you got me interested. You've piqued my interest.
I don't even remember. I just remember Maury's like, "Hey, hold on a second. I got somebody to talk to," and I was like, "Hello," and I just thought he's just gonna, start singing, "I've got friends." And I was like, "Man,"
because that's what they do.
Something. And I looked at Maury, and he kind of started giggling, and I was like, "It's Garth." Like, yep. And I don't even know if I said anything, but I just remember him talking to me on the phone. I don't know if I said anything.
You know what you felt at that moment? The piss running down your leg.
Yeah. Exactly.
So, okay, what about in your phone? I know I'm pushing that.
Man, in my phone, golly, I can't really think of anybody in my phone. I got Dale Brisby's number. I mean, he's pretty famous.
So do I. It's not under Dale Brisby, but
yeah, I don't really have any
okay.
I would say famous people in there, other than just rodeo stars, man, like yourself.
I think, but I think people like us, we take for granted that maybe could call Trevor Brazil today, or you,
exactly.
Joe Bumgardner. Those are. I think we do sometimes. I use the word jaded a lot, but I don't think it's jaded. I think we take for granted the world that we're immersed in and the people that we call friends. And I think people that we would look on the outside at a Garth Brooks, people that we think are huge stars, those are just his friends in his cell phone. And I think that's how we are. I know I could call you anytime and visit and take care of things, and no big deal. So, and I'm going to post your cell number on the screen.
Appreciate it.
Yeah. Well, because I know you need more friends.
Ladies, I'm single.
You and I, Montana, Rodeo, the Western sports world's most eligible bachelors. That's
there
us.
you go. I like it.
I want you to know something before I let you go. I'm bragging a little, but it relates to what I want to tell you. I have, my two girls are 22 and 20.
Yeah.
A 22-year-old daughter, as we do this, is giving a talk in Tyler, Texas for Cavenders to a youth conference about high school rodeo transitioning to college rodeo and how to balance it all. They flew her to Texas. My 20-year-old daughter is a couple hours away doing a goat tying clinic for a bunch of high school girls. And I think the biggest reason that they have those opportunities is one thing I've driven into them their whole lives. You can have all the success you want inside the arena, but it means nothing if you don't treat people well outside of the arena, and that's what they remember. Their opportunities have been created because of that and how they've treated people. I am proud of my college-age girls that they're somewhere in the country right now talking to young people. And when I look at you in your career, if I had to pick one guy that I'm friends with that embodies that, you are in that list of top 5 people. You know that that's important in a career, probably more important. You mentioned it already. And I know that that's important. And it's guys like you that I can point my girls to and say, you can do it like that guy does. And I want you to know that.
I appreciate that. It means a lot.
Yeah. So listen, we're not going to go off the air and don't tell me I'm a turd or anything. So, but it is, you're one of those guys. We talk, and I talk in my life about friends I have that when I see them, it makes my day better. You make my day better, Dustin. So,
same to you, Flint.
Yeah. Well, listen, I know you're busy. It's that time of year, and I appreciate your time, and I appreciate you joining me and sharing your thoughts. And I know you got really good years ahead of you in your career, in the rodeo world, in the PBR world. We're seeing you a little more. So I appreciate you, and I look forward to seeing you. Thanks, man.
Thank you, man. We'll see you at the next one.
Sounds good. Dusty Tuckness.